This is the Bar Up Show with Rafael Cruz from the studios of Miami Strength Club in North Miami, Florida, bringing you the information, stories, and solutions to increase your strength so you can lead a better life for yourself and the people around you. Welcome to the Bar Up Show. My name is Rafael Cruz, the host and the owner of Miami Strength Club. Today I have Ricardo Roman, a doctor, a friend of gastroenterology. How are you doing, Ricardo?
I'm fine.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here today. Today we're going to talk about Ricardo's history and some of those problems that some of us face when it comes to strength training. For example, gaining weight, actually making gains in enough time, so progressing, what the appropriate progressions are. We're going to be talking about generally about some approaches that any lifter after 40 can take, and dieting and nutrition for lifters over 40 and for everybody for that matter. So, Ricardo, thanks again for being here today. This has been in the making for some time. Tell us about yourself.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. Well, so I'm been a doctor for 30 years and about ready to retire. And in general, when I started Miami Strength Club a year ago, just a little over a year ago, I was 65 years old. I've been doing exercise all my life, mostly aerobic exercise, like my bicycle, cranking out, say, 200 watts for half an hour, 3 times a week. I'd go to the gym 3 times a week and lift, using machines mostly. And I thought I was in pretty good shape. Just a couple of injuries that I've accumulated since, I'm 65 years old, some back problems and knee problems, but that was it. But the reason I decided to switch over to the barbell method and starting strength method is several things. First of all, I was making absolutely no progress in the gym. I'd go, and no matter what I did, I didn't seem to increase after I had reached a certain amount of weight on every machine. I'd never increase. Secondly, my wife was telling me that even though I was going to the gym 3 times a week, I was looking like I was losing a little bit of, muscle mass compared to when I was younger. And then the final thing is I had my bone density checked, and it was on the low side of normal for my age. And so all those 3 things together kind of made me think about barbell training. And, that's basically what happened and why I decided to switch over. As you know, it's been about a year and a half now that I've been doing it. And, we saw results actually very quickly. I think I started squatting. I weighed 150 pounds when I began, right? Mm-hmm. I was squatting 80 pounds. Within a month, I was squatting 150. Within 2 months, 175.
I see. So, well, that's a lot of progress real quick. Quick question though. I mean, as far as, because I hear you, there's definitely enough, reasons there why you started. Mm-hmm. How did you find out? Because I tell you, so many people come in the gym. By the way, for those in the audience, Ricardo and I met here at Miami Strength Club. We are a tiny gym dedicated to strength training. And, one time, you called us or came in and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And you can, tell us how you found out about us and what led you here, because I think that was a cool story.
Yeah. It was Christmas of 2019. My daughter, actually, I have to give her credit, gave me a book by Ripito on starting strength. And my wife gave me the book by Sullivan on, barbell lifting for those over 40. Uh-huh. And those 2 Bibles, I decided, I researched it. Being a doctor, it all made sense to me. And so we started looking for gyms. We came here to interview you, and the 2 books on your shelf were those 2 books. So that kind of sealed the deal at that point, I think.
Yeah, good stuff. I remember that day. Yeah. I remember that day. Definitely, you have done quite a lot of progress. What were the numbers again? Just in contextually, like the first month or so?
In the first month, I went from squatting 80 to 150. Oof. The second month to 175. Then COVID.
Yeah.
So we're off for a few months. I came back squatting 125. A month later, 200. And from there, it was a little bit slower progress. I got up to about 230 pounds in the next 4 months. So from 200 to 230, started going a little bit more slowly. And then what happened was that I had my first injury, which I guess we can talk about since, this is for people over 45. It had nothing to do with my back and my knees, which were my problem, but rather it had to do with my rib. I had a weight belt. The famous weight belt, which I donated to the gym here.
It's been put to good use.
Yes. And it was a great belt, but it was very big and wide, and I think too wide for me. And so one day, squatting 230 pounds, the belt just caught under my left rib and kind of popped over it. And I could feel that something, bad had happened. And so what did I do?
Off in there.
So what did I do? Did I stop? No.
Did you?
No. I kept going and finished my set. And it popped 2 more times. And after that, it was very sore. And so that resulted in, taking off for about a week, cutting way back down, and then starting up very, very slowly with lower weights.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, it was the same rib was injured 2 more times. And that's basically a different story, but basically we finally had to just find the right belt.
Right.
And I finally found a belt that was perfect for me, a 2-inch belt in the front, because as it turns out, just the distance between my rib and my hip is smaller than usual. And just, all the belts that I was trying was giving me the same injury. So I'd get up to 230 again and then injure it again.
I remember that.
Have to restart over. So we did that 3 times and we had to restart over again.
Yeah, I remember that. It was pretty much analyzing the belt, analyzing movement. We definitely went into analysis and videos and stuff like that, thinking that it might be something of, with the mechanics of the movement, which, by the way, it might as well could have been based on how we, some things happen, and sometimes you don't necessarily, it's obvious what it is, especially at the very beginning, but then it became really obvious. And for those of us listening out there, do pay attention to what kind of gear you have. I think just conversation here, I didn't plan to talk about necessarily gear that much, but do pay attention to gear, pay attention to how your body is built, the distance from your ribs to your hips. Typically, you should have somewhat of the length of 4 fingers at the knuckles, or somewhat around there between your ribs and your hips. I think that's, hey, you know what? Just put your hand on somebody of your size compatible, and if you're dancing together, that's pretty much the soft part.
Yeah.
So that if you're into dancing, you'll find out soon.
Yeah.
But so then you're making real fast progress. Then you hit, with a rib injury. We tried a few belts. Mind you, what did go through your head when you were like, ouch, and ouch 3 times? What's going on in your mind?
Well, I knew I could feel that the belt was just hitting up on the rib and popping over it. So I knew that it was doing some harm, but stupid me, instead of stopping and just putting the barbell back, I just went through all set of 3 and paid the consequences for that. The next 2 times, as soon as I felt it, obviously I stopped. But the interesting thing is, as you get older, the detraining was very quick. So I'd take a week off of and do biceps, triceps, or something that didn't involve the rib at all, and very quickly you can't squat 230 pounds anymore at age 65. So you have to start low and slow and build up again. And it is amazing how quickly you can lose it. But in a way, sometimes that's good, because then you start concentrating on form and really nailing the form correctly, so that you get back up to the appropriate weight that you started at before the injury. Yeah,
and I want to jump in there and say that detraining training is a process in which lifters acquire strength. So when you stop partially or completely, something that we define as detraining happens, which is you're not putting your body through that much intensity, meaning heavier weight, or sometimes even medium weight or light weights. So your body sort of reacts in the opposite way. It says, well, you don't have to lift this much, so I'm not getting stronger. And then coming back, by all means, mechanically and by perception, you feel like you've lost some strength. And to for any practical purposes, you could say that that's true, especially at the top ranges of the weight. If you were, let's say, lifting around 245, 250 pounds, and you take a 3 week layoff or something like that, you might find out that going back to that higher weight feels, almost close to impossible, or like you feel like you lost something.
I agree. And I think especially so if you get older, because you really have to protect against injuries.
Right.
And that's very, very key. And the interesting thing is that the injuries that I thought I might get, I haven't had. My knees have been fine. I do wrap them with elastic, but they've not given me any problems. My back, which I've had, herniated discs and whatnot from, my job is standing in one spot for hours on end, so it can hurt the back. I have hurt my back, but not during exercise. Rather, it was being in a funny position, working, at home on a household project that, got me on a bad back that also slowed me down at one point. And, where I had to cut back on the squats and whatnot to much lower levels and then build up again. But the exercise itself, if you use proper form, if you go up slowly, you don't rush it, you really shouldn't injure yourself. And, I'm 66 now, so.
Right.
I would know about injuries. So the system works very well. And the goals of the system, which was, to gain muscle mass and whatnot, I went from 150 to 160 pounds.
How long did it take?
Just under a year.
Okay.
Just under a year. My bone density went up 10%. So I'm no longer in the lower limit of normal, but right on the average for my age.
Good.
And I'm assuming I keep lifting weights, it'll continue to go up even further and get it above average, which is fine. And hopefully my muscle mass will maybe go up a little bit more, but we'll see. But I can tell, you put your pants on and all of a sudden the pants feel tight where they didn't used to be tight. It's a funny feeling. It's like, who is that guy in the mirror? You get up in the night, and the lights are kind of dim and you see yourself in the mirror. Who is that guy in the mirror?
What did I hear Isabel say one time? You have a bot?
Yeah. Yeah. And it is interesting that, and that's despite having, been to the gym 3 times a week for years and years, and all of a sudden the progress was there where it hadn't been before.
Well, I am glad you not only bring this up, but also I'm glad you went to the gym for that long, because guess what? It's if you are going to the gym out there and you're doing 3 times a week, hey, don't stop. Yeah. It is where you should be.
Yeah. I think going to the gym helped me go from 80 pounds to 175 that quickly.
Right.
Because I was, not a complete couch potato. However, what's interesting is that now I was able to put on weight, put on muscle mass, and increase bone density going 3 times a week, but to a different gym using a different method.
Right. So let me describe with a little bit more detail what is it that you did, mainly for the benefit of the audience. The Starting Strength program by the Asgard company and the Starting Strength method, they're great guys, men and women out there who have done for few decades now, especially Mark Ripito, Mr. Mark Ripito, whom I met, and he coached me a little bit on February of 2018 in one of the seminars in Austin, Texas. They've been putting together an amazing method. And you can find all about this method in Starting Strength Basic Barbell Training. It is a book available on the startingstrength.com website, as well as other famous companies out there. You can go in the web. But by all means, you can find it at startingstrength.com on the website. So the Starting Strength method is, as the name implies, a great way, if I would say the best way, for people who have not done formal barbell training. That means squatting with barbells and plates on your back and in different ways as well. you begin to develop your strength using that method. What are you doing? You're working out 2 or 3 times a week, squatting, doing deadlift, doing an upper body movement like the bench or a shoulder press, which we call press, and chin-ups, bicep curls, so on and so on. Each exercise has its timing in the program. And the program entails for the lifter to actually show up and lift a bit heavier every time according to the model of movement and keeping good technique. Some people have to eat a little bit more to keep that up. Ricardo, I want your thoughts on that.
Definitely had to eat more and eat a lot more protein, especially being older. So I was putting away 1 gram of protein per pound of weight. So I was eating 150 to 160 grams of protein a day. That's a lot of protein.
I was just going to say
what I used to eat.
Now, when it comes to not only the protein, but how much eating is that really? Because I know some people think like, oh my God, I can never eat that much, or I don't wake up and I'm hungry, or I don't eat late at night, or how much eating is that really?
I've always had a healthy appetite, so I've always been a big eater despite being thin. But I was eating. It's funny thing is after the exercise you feel starved.
Okay.
And you crave protein. I mean, I felt like a big juicy steak or a big piece of fish, or I just craved protein. So it was not that difficult for me to eat the large amounts. Granted, sometimes you feel kind of full and you're like, you need that to put on weight. I mean, it's to put on weight requires a lot of extra calories.
Yeah.
And as you get older, it takes even more of everything. Takes more time in the gym, takes more proteins. When you're young, it's much easier, I think. As you get older, I understand some people may have heartburn issues, things like that, if they overeat. So you have to kind of apportion it out in small, frequent meals and whatnot. Right. I also did notice that I had to use protein supplements. I found it difficult to do it just with food, natural food alone. Just very hard to put away 160, for my weight,
right.
100, I weigh 150 to 100. Now I weigh 160, but to put away 160 grams of protein a day just by eating, eggs, meat, fish, chicken, beans,
that would be a lot
milk,
of eating.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So yes, protein supplements, but you don't need to use them as much as you might think. You have a lot of high protein foods nowadays that are good for you. You have certain vegetables and legumes that are high in protein that if you combine them with meat, fish, chicken, they convert into high quality protein, and you can do it. And you can do it healthy. You don't have to eat poorly. Eat good quality foods. Really try and do a lot of lean meats. Pork loins are very low in fat. You're going to eat beef, get grass-fed beef tenderloin.
Right.
Make sure you have a lot of turkey breast, chicken breast, seafood.
Yeah.
Anything you want, squid, octopus, fish, lobster, anything you want in that regards.
Sky's the limit.
They have, they sell them in cans, sardines, whatever.
Right.
There's a lot that you can do. And remember that, the basic legumes are also very good. And if you mix them with high quality protein, so, a rushed lunch, a can of tuna, a can of garbanzos, some celery, some onions, a little bit of olive oil, vinegar, salt and pepper, you've made yourself a nice lunch.
Oh, yeah. Hungry already. Yeah, definitely really, really good advice. Very practical, by the way, and very healthy. That's one of the things that is actually it's encompassed into the barbell training. I would say we eat a lot, but we eat right. We eat very wholesome foods, a lot of home prepared meals too, which, by the way, it could be a little bit intimidating for a lot of people. But it's the kind of meals that you can get anywhere affordably, by the way.
Yes.
Even if somebody cooks for you, if you have a meal service, going for you, family members, even if you eat out restaurant-wise and whatnot, you can toss a few, or you can ask them to toss a few vegetables down here in the South Florida, the south part of the state, and maybe the whole state for that matter, you can definitely get, beans and
yes,
garbanzos and stuff like that almost anywhere you go. Yeah. Publix has really good garbanzo salads of their shelf freezer kind of thingy. So eating properly when you're doing barbell training is not such of a steep hill as one might imagine.
I think in a way it also forces you to eat healthy, because desserts, things like that, which, we probably shouldn't eat as much of, and refined, over-processed foods, they're just going to drag you down. They're useless calories.
Right.
They may be fun to eat, but they're useless calories for bodybuilding, and they're also not as good for your health. If you want to eat a snack, have nuts.
Right.
High in protein. They're good for you. They have fats that are good for the health. They have a lot of other health benefits. So, you find ways of doing it. You just have to be conscious of nutrition. But I think that's good for all of us. I think we need to be more conscious of our nutrition in general.
Would it be, let's say, fair to ask, based your, clinical and medical expertise, eating that much, is there anything that anybody should, or I say eating that much because a lot of people actually, they don't eat that much. Some people are into, I'm going to eat as least as possible, actually. Is there any, general thing that somebody should consider before they start eating that much?
Well, if you're trying to lose weight, that's obviously, a lot of people want to increase muscle but decrease fat. So then that, gets a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
People who are diabetic or people who have other health issues, high cholesterol, have to be a little bit careful. And, just for general health, I understand that eating just red animal meat in large amounts is not necessarily the best thing for you. But again, that's why you look for alternative low-fat meats. Try and rely on, if you're going to eat beef, get grass-fed beef, get lean cuts. Don't go for the greasy, fatty things. Try and avoid saturated fats. All that is it's doable, though.
Right.
It's doable.
Right. Good. Definitely. Those are solid points. You in the audience listening, it's very doable. You heard it from somebody Dr. Roman, who has, amazing results training, and he's done it. There's nowhere else to look at. You did it. Let me take a segue here. Let's recap. We have about 25 minutes of conversation now. And I wouldn't be surprised if people start trying to come in anytime soon, because that's when they start coming in. So I think we talk about generally your story, some of your progress, but we haven't gotten all the way to, I think, discussing where you are now and some of your, let's say, challenges, for example, current challenges.
Okay.
Anything on my conversation that you think could be useful in this context? Anything that I should talk about?
What to do when you reach certain walls, which come at different times for different exercise for every person, I think.
I want to segue, let's say, maybe talk a little bit about the gym and, everybody here. Maybe talk a little bit about your experience. Basically, you come for classes and you do also personal training.
Yes.
Which is ideally, what people should hear about, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's very important for older people to do at least once a week a personal training. It really helps. You need to get the form properly. You need to make sure that your progress is slow and steady and that you're not rushing it. And you want to avoid injuries, because that's what's going to kill you as you get older. I mean, not literally, but figuratively. That's, an injury can really set you back tremendously.
Totally. And an injury, there's definitely several degrees of severity when it comes to injuries. I would say minor injuries, or the perception of something in your body that it's preventing you from performing at top or regular levels, I would say that's an injury. But definitely injuries that give you pain, and you go workout in, workout out, and then your training kind of sucks because you're worried about, hurting yourself even more, or, being in pain, or maybe being fine during the workout session, but going home and feeling pain and feeling inflammation and whatnot. Those are the things that proper barbell programming takes in account. For example, with you, Ricardo, tell us more about your ongoing challenges. We talked a little bit about as far as your progress at the beginning.
Sure.
What are your current challenges right now, a year and a half into this?
Yeah. Oh, my current challenges are different for each exercise, but basically with each exercise, which is the basic 4 exercise, I tend to reach a wall where it starts getting very, very difficult to get beyond a certain point. So for instance, with my squats, I maxed out at 247.5. Never got to the 250, maxed out at 247.5. And then we decided to cut back down to 225 again to really nail the form, the depth, the back position, and get it right before starting to go back up again. With the deadlift, we haven't had too much of a problem with the form on that one. It's an easier exercise, I think, in terms of form than the squat. With the bench and the press, also, we tended to get a certain wall there where we had to really start modifying the program. And basically the modifications that we did were to cut back on weights and start increasing volume and different variations, which, you can talk more about all the different methods. But I think my long-term goals are to perhaps get past some of these hurdles. But I think also you have to be realistic in terms of, for a certain age and a certain size, I'm not going to squat 400 pounds ever. It's not going to happen. But that's okay.
That's okay.
If I can squat 250 and that's wonderful. That's over twice my weight. At age 66, that's pretty good.
That's wonderful.
I think I should be able to be deadlifting 300 pounds within a few months, and hopefully my press, which stalled at 160, will start to increase as we do the combination of volume, cutting back but increasing on volume, and then on one day, and then the other day go back up on weights.
Your bench stalled at 160.
Bench.
Yeah. Okay.
Bench, and then the press, I think, stalled at 100. But again, we're doing a little bit of cut back but increased volume.
Right. So I think picking up a trend here. You've hit the top weights on your lifts, and I would say the pattern here is that we've recycled back through to a certain percentage. I guess roughly 85% and up, maybe a little bit more than that, and then focused on form and adding volume.
Correct.
To that. Form and volume.
Form and volume, exactly.
How often are we hitting let me just say it outright. We're hitting top heavyweights now. Since we caught, that's going to take 3 to 4 weeks, maybe. Correct. Go back up a little bit, 3 to 4 weeks, and now we're inching back with volume and technical, proficiency. Correct.
And that's where it's important to have the training day where it's the personal session, I think, because I think having your eyes watching everything is very important, not just to avoid injury, but also to really progress correctly.
Right. If you're wondering, how that happens anyway, the setting where we train here at Miami Strength Club, we have several squat racks and platforms. There's 2 main ways that people train here and receive coaching while they're training. One is in an 1 hour and a half class. The schedule is going to be posted for you on the website at miamistrengthclub.com, and it's also going to be on the description for the show. We're going to make their schedule available for you. But if you come to class, you have 1 hour and a half to perform your program for that day. Mostly everybody here opts in for that type of training. And we also have personal training, of course, in your case and in the case of your whole family. You have opted for both of those training interventions. And what's your take, and what's the benefit of one versus the other?
I think the combination is perfect, really. I definitely think that a lot of the injury avoidance and a lot of the progress that we've made is because of the personal, hands-on, one-on-one training that we get once a week. Although I will say the other 2 days we get a lot of hands-on, training as well, because they're just, it's a small gym, right? So there's always a good ratio of coach to student,
Yeah, I mean the ratio is 1:6 at worst. Let's put it that way. So we have about 6 platforms, and the classes are made with reservation alone. So we only admit 6 people, up to 6 people per class. Often is 3, 4, 5, but no more than 6. Actually, a good problem to have lately is that I've gotten much more traffic than I can, accommodate. And I've been actually have to create, new class schedules. We have a new class schedule, by the way, at 6 a.m. Don't ask me.
No,
why,
thanks.
Lord, why?
No thanks.
So we start at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And that's good then. That's good because then it gives some of the members the ability to start their day and their routine, when they can or when they want. And by the way, training early in the morning is a different kind of beast. You did train in previously, very early. I remember you said that.
Previously, when I went to the gym, it was very early in the morning. Yes.
So what would you say is different?
It's easier in the afternoon and evening. I'm not going back. COVID changed my life. I'm not waking up that early anymore and going to the gym.
It is a challenge, waking up rainy days, colder days.
I think also you warm up by the end of the day. I think you're a little bit more limber.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not as important when you're young, but when you're 65, 66, I think that also helps prevent injuries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, being awake and, being aware of what you have on your body or what you're pushing or pulling. And if it's heavy, by all means, by all means.
Yes.
So here's a question, because definitely by now you understood that you could do this. Why did you start? I mean, you were sitting down somewhere or talking to your family and like you mentioned earlier, but why? I mean, what got you in here?
Well, I think that it was reading up on this method and realizing that I shouldn't be happy with going to the gym 3 times a week and not making any progress. I shouldn't be happy with losing muscle mass with age, despite going to the gym 3 times a week. And I shouldn't be happy with my bone density dropping to borderline low, despite going to the gym 3 times a week. Now, I was in great aerobic shape. I mean, that was really, 200 watts for half an hour easily without any problem 3 times a week. But, there are other things other than aerobic conditioning and, your strength, your body mass, your bone density are all important as well. And so why not have it all?
Yeah.
And, why go to the gym 3 times a week and not get progress? Why not do a different method? Granted, it takes a little more diet, rigor with diet and with what you're eating, but you combine the two. And even at my age, if I can do it, someone who's younger, has higher growth hormone levels, higher testosterone levels, not as resistant to training as older people, you're going to do well and you're going to gain muscle mass and strength, which is the most important thing, I think, and, build your bones as well to keep them healthy as you get older.
That's, thank you for sharing that and making it so clear, because that happens to many of us, not only at the gym, but, for what it pertains to us. Why should you be happy with not making progress if you're putting the work? I think that, that sums it up. Pretty much drop the mic and let's walk out of here. Because, whether you are 22 or, pushing, over 60, why should you do something? Do it with your whole heart, with your whole heart. You put in the effort, put in the finances, put in the care. And, sometime goes by and you're like, so what now? I'm not where I want to be. And yeah, here's a few benefits, but that is the difference between training, which is what you did, Ricardo, training, and working out. When you are working out, most often you don't have a long-term strategy that you have, let's say, that is transparent, that you can actually see through over time where you are going to be. And when you pick up a starting strength method, you know where you're going to be exactly in the first year. You know where you're going to be exactly in the next 3 or 4 years of your life. And then after that, it's up to you where you want to be, because now you're going to be strong as F. and that's what happens. Then it's up to you, meaning, are you going to start competing? Are you going to dedicate yourself to something more intensity as far as just lifting heavy, or you bring it back down and start doing a whole bunch of volume? If you're younger, definitely you can do a whole bunch of volume. If you are middle-aged or, somewhat above a certain years, like above 50, your programming is going to take you to lower volume. And when I say your programming, I mean the kind of programming that we help you implement here at Miami Strength Club is one that gives you exactly what you need to continue to get stronger without maximizing your time and minimizing risk of injury. But also, most importantly, a program that allows you to recover optimally from one training session to the other. Because that's one of the things that happen to many of us. If you're more tired, exhausted than willing to show up to the gym, you can probably drag that out by a couple of weeks. But if that becomes the habit, if you're more tired than energetic, 2 months are going to go by and you're going to just say, screw this, I'm switching to something else.
I agree. And that's where having a good trainer helps too, which you don't usually find at the other gyms. But I have to say, you've been very good at that. I think you understand that older people, maybe can't squat 3 times a week heavy. You can't. You got to come back to twice a week or
not
whatever.
Forever.
Not forever. Exactly. That, some exercises you have to cut back on, and just be more realistic and let that body recover. So that's very, very important as well. And I've been very pleased. My family's been very pleased. My wife and daughter come here too. And we've all been very pleased with your coaching and your training and your good eye at helping us do the proper form, and also on our training objectives, looking at the logs, making sure that we're making the right kind of progress, modifying our approach, changing sets, volumes, whatnot, types of exercise to achieve our goals. So I think that's also very, very important.
It is super important. And, Ricardo, I'd have to say that it's been my absolute privilege and pleasure to, be able to guide you forward in getting stronger and discovering your capacity and your capabilities here at the gym for you, for Isabel and Carmen. I have to say, since we started sometime in 2020, December running into 2020, like many people, I thought that the world was over when the COVID hit. And, your choice, your option of doubling back here to the gym and doing whatever it took. We took all the precautions that were available and that can be taken up until now.
Yes, we always felt and still feel very safe here, although we've already been vaccinated. But the small numbers of people that are here, and everyone wears masks, and the distancing, that's all been very good, and the ventilation as well.
Yeah.
And the cleaning of all the equipment.
Look, if I have to clean one more barbell, I'd go crazy. It's actually, I clean the barbells and the equipment so much, especially the barbells. Barbells are not designed to be cleaned that much. Not with these agents. Let's put it that way. Oh boy, it's getting barbells are getting so rusted so fast that I have invented a cleaning device for it that we're actually trying to produce now. There's one of the members here actually. We're doing drawings and trying to get a prototype, and we have started investing a tiny bit on that, both in time and money. So hey, maybe something extra good comes out of COVID for all of us.
That's right.
Yeah, it's been a privilege, Ricardo. Really, really, the world ended in a certain way, and we got together and we pulled and pushed each other through this whole thing, and I can't be more thankful, to you, to your family, and the work that we've done.
And we're grateful for your help and your coaching and training and persistence and helping us. And the results are I feel better. I've gained muscle mass. Everything is good, and my wife also and daughter.
Good stuff, Ricardo. I think it's been a great pleasure. I'd like to have you here again to probably go and break downs. Maybe sometimes we just talk about the squats and, try to put the good word out to some of the people that are listening and, geek out with the squat or anything else. Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Sure. This is home, and it's been a pleasure.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ricardo. If you enjoy this podcast and would like to support the channel by continuing to listen to our podcast releases and short clips, consider subscribing. It will help a lot to continue to bring interesting guests that promote our vision of helping people become stronger so that they can lead better lives for themselves and the people around them.